Great. So I'm going to begin. Thank you for everyone that can said that they could hear me. I just want to ask, can you all see my slides by any chance? Because I do have screen share up. So if you can just let me know if you can see my slides, that would be great. Great. Okay. So it seems that everyone can see the title slide. That is great. Welcome to the 2018 Clean Energy Activity Day webinar. Thank you for those that are joining us. I know it's not easy sometimes to join these in the middle of the day. Excuse me. My name is Tamika Jacques, if you were not on the phone or if you just joined us. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. Josh Kreisberg is not actually able to be on the webinar today, but he is the Program Manager for Workforce Development. So I want to get started here. Just to know, if you are new to Mass CEC or if you do not know who we are an economic development association focused on clean energy. And so as you can see from our mission here, it is to grow the state's clean energy industry. And we do that with clean energy, for Massachusetts climate and economic development goals. Some of the things we do is we invest in programs. And one thing that, of course, I am most proud of is the workforce team here as we do workforce initiatives. And so you can see all the ways that we connect our mission. We invest in startup companies. We provide loans to residents of Massachusetts, depending on the technology that they want to install in their house. And so, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are an economic development agency focused on clean energy. And so how does this all work? What does the workforce look like in Massachusetts? We have about 109,000 jobs counted in Massachusetts. And as you can see from the slide, about 68% of the workers earn more than $50,000. So this is a great entry-level pipeline, as well as for middle skills, as well as for our seasoned workers out in the workforce. It is a great career path. And since 2010, when we've been tracking the clean energy metrics, as you can see, our industry has just grown by leaps and bounds, and the number we have here is 81%. And I know this number will go up as next month we issue our 2018 Clean Energy Report. So, as you know, this is a webinar for the Clean Energy Activity Day, and the goal of the program is to expose students in kindergarten through 8th grade to clean energy concepts, higher education pathways, and career choices through a one-day educational event that has to include mandatory hand-on activities. And so this is going to be our 3rd year of doing this. We've had many schools participate in this program. We've had the Mario Umana School, whose picture is listed on this website, in East Boston. We've had the Kennedy School in Brockton. We've had the Pierce Middle School in Milton. We just worked with, a few months ago in October, with a school in Holyoke, the Lieutenant Claire Sullivan School. So this initiative is clearly statewide. Again, it's for kindergarten through 8th grade. And we want this initiative to be, it has to be a mandatory hands-on learning experience. And so what happens? How do you plan the day? What happens on getting this day to come to your school to be funded through Mass CEC? So as you are thinking of, I know you're all on the webinar now, you're listening, how do I plan this day? How does it start? So it starts by, if you're a teacher at one of the elementary schools in Massachusetts, you sit down with your team, you sit down with a few teachers who have this idea. Maybe you want to, teach your students around wind, or at your school, you're doing a unit, on solar or wind or water. And so you have this idea that you want to do something hands-on. So you come up with your team at your school, and we like to have one, point person who is the program coordinator located at the school. The purpose of this is that we want this to directly impact the students at the school. So we like for it to be an applicant team when you apply. We like to have, see teams, who's on your team. So there has to be mandatory a program coordinator, 2 additional team members. Again, this is what we want just for basic to start out the day. And 2 people that are going to help you. And what happens is, because we know that, a lot of teachers are busy, programs are busy, it's part of the day, you can bill the grant for your extra time. So when you're pre-planning, or when you get it and you have to, do things as a teacher, you are allowed to bill the grant for your planning activities time, because we understand that sometimes you can't plan necessarily during the day. You have to do things after school. So this isn't allowed activity as part of the grant. And I just want to mention that if you have any questions, feel free to chat with me, put your questions in, and I will address all of them at the end of the webinar. And the webinar will be on our website. This webinar is being recorded, so even if you want to go back to it later and hear something that it might have been said or see the slides, everything will be on the website. So let's talk about the requirements for planning the day. It has to be a 1-day, 3-hour event dedicated to clean energy. Now, we do say it's at your place of education or clean energy business, or it could be a higher education. So, for example, we had schools located down the southern part of Massachusetts go to Mass Maritime, bring students to Mass Maritime Academy, and they were able to see the wind turbine at Mass Maritime Academy. They were able to see some other renewable energy projects that they have at Mass Maritime. And they took that tour, and then they had a component where the students were given paper cups and different materials, and they all had to design a wind turbine. And then there was fans there so they could test them out. So it was very hands-on. They had business speakers that were focused on offshore wind. So that's just an example of how a day might look. You bus the students. Either the students are at your place, at your elementary school or middle school, or you are busing them to a business or a location that focuses on clean energy. They have a speaker that speaks with them, and then they might do a tour of the facility, and then they do a hands-on activity. And so when you think of your day, we look at 2 age groups. It's either kindergarten through 4th grade, or we're looking at grades 5 through 8. And we're not so much of a stickler on the, if you want to say, oh, I want to do, grades 4 through 8, if you have that in your school, that is okay too. We just, for the RFP, we like to see it in groups, because, you probably, if you want to, have this program for a kindergarten student, most likely they're not going to be able to do the same things that an 8th grade student does. So we've broken this up in different pieces. For example, one school did activities around water. You might not want to have kindergarten students, necessarily splashing around water, on the inside of a school, but maybe you can work it out so that you could be outside one day. So just things to think about. And we love to see these partnered with clean energy businesses, because that's who's going to be your guest speakers. And we can be helpful in that. If you are saying, you know what, I don't really have any connections with clean energy, I don't know any clean energy businesses, we can be helpful with showing you one of our maps that we use to show you who have the businesses that work with Mass CEC. We can be helpful with that, or suggest in your region who you could work with if you want to reach out to them. So it's definitely, we would like to have employers at your day. Applications that have come in the past have said, okay, we'll pay, this employer to come speak. We would like if the employer would give back to your community or to your school by just really giving up, 45 minutes of their time to speak about their employment. So, some employers might say, I want a speaking fee, but on the most part, we would like it that the employer, this would be their deposit into your community or into your school. So we would like for 2 guest speakers to be part of your day, and we want them to be able to communicate some clean energy concepts, basic career awareness to the students to the students. We want them to tell their story. How did they get to clean energy? What courses did they study in high school, right? Because that's going to be the next segment of a middle school's person's career, educational career. So how did they get there? We want them to tell some engaging stories because, fourth graders, as you know, you have to keep them engaged. So you want to be able to tell the business how you would like them to speak to your students, what you would like them to do. So again, I just have on here, we encourage businesses to donate their time. And then, activity and equipment. Part of the grant is that we are allowing you to purchase equipment that the students can use. So on this slide, there's, different options that you can use. So, the first one is that you are purchasing the equipment that the students are going to use there. And then you allow the students to take it home. So for example, we've had a lot of schools partner with Kid Wind from UMass Lowell, and they have allowed the students to take home some of that equipment, building wind turbines. So you could say you can have this, you want the kids to be able to go home and speak with it to their parents. You can allow them to take it home. The second one that we would like to see done is, again, these are all options that you could choose, is that you purchase the equipment, they're working with it, whatever it is, but they are not allowed to take home the equipment because you want it to stay at your school for future use. So that if you're going to have future curriculum around what they would be learning that day, that you have it in the future, that, it can last for a couple of years for your school. Or the third option is that you're purchasing, the equipment that you want the students to use. Students can take, are taking some of that home, and then, what's ever left over, if there's additional equipment, then it can, stay at the school. So there's 3 different options that you can choose for your day, what best may work out for your school. We leave that up to you. But again, we want it to be hands-on models. So again, schools have partnered with Kid Wind around wind turbines. People have got like solar kits, solar-powered cars that they've allowed the students to take home. We worked with schools that they did not allow the students to take home the solar-powered cars after they built them and tested them out outside or inside if it was raining, because they want to use them for future use. So we leave that basically all up to you on how you want to do that. And that's the best thing about this grant, is that we are not dictating what type of sector you want to bring to your students. That is up to you. You're able to go and look at different hands-on curriculum on Amazon or from places that your school orders from. That is up to you. We are just here as your guidance. So if you have any questions saying, did you hear a school that used, the Connects? How did it work out? We are just here to offer advice. But on the most part, it is it is up to you of what kind of equipment you will use for your program. And I just want to say that as a tip, usually if you are, working with, say, the 5th to 8th grade students and you're looking at ordering equipment, you want to scale down that equipment. So you might want to buy equipment that maybe a 5th and a 6th grader could use, because a lot of times what happens with equipment, there's a lot of pieces involved, and it can be very hard, and you might not have a lot of time to put together your equipment. So if you know that you're going to have 8th graders, don't order above, what should be for high schoolers. You might want to take it down a couple of years and order something that maybe 6th graders would use, because that's what we've seen in the past, is that a lot of the equipment sometimes can come with a lot of pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to go on to the next slide. So this is something that we've implemented as well. So what happens is that Mass CEC provides a gift bag to your students. Usually we will send, once you are awarded, we've gone through your contract, we send your school gift bags for the amount of students that you have requested for. So we will send a box of, if you are going to work with 800 students, we'll send you 800 gift bags, and usually we include a water bottle. What you're responsible for is the information that goes into the bags. So what we would like in those information is information on higher education entities or community colleges that focus on STEM or that have like a clean energy track. So science, technology, engineering, math, the career pathways that leads to someone going into clean energy. So it could be administration brochures. You could include things on STEM camps, programs, regional or statewide that are coming up. Information on museums that focus on STEM. So it could be the Museum of Science or a children's museum that is locally in your area. And information on the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, again, we will send that as part of the bag because we would like for your community to know about Mass CEC, as we call it. And optional items could include, pens from the guest speakers, or if your guest speakers want to bring in little trinkets that can go in the bag, a notebook with a Clean Energy Company logo, or just, other takeaway and prizes that you could give a student so that they could go home and be excited about their day to share with their family, to share with their brothers and sisters of, what happened and the goodies that they received from this. So again, we send the bag, we send the information on Mass DEC, and it comes with a water bottle, and then it's your responsibility to get everything else into the bag. So usually, I know other schools will stuff the bags a few days before. Teachers will help with that because if you try to do it on the morning of, it gets a little crazy. So that's just a little tip that I want to share with you. And so part of the planning day is to work with Mass DEC because we want to be able to publicize your day, as well as your school system would want to publicize your day. You want to invite your legislative officials or people in the community that are going to stop by or participate in the day. So what happens is we just ask for a simple, tell us how you're going to do your outreach. How are you going to let the parents know that their students will participate in this day? How will you let other legislatures know who represent your town or your city that this is happening at the school? How is that going to happen? And so usually we ask for an outreach plan because what will happen is most legislators want to come. They want to be part of the day in the morning. And so they will come in the morning. We'll have, like a 10-minute introduction of the day, allow the legislatures to come. The CEO of Mass CEC will speak. Anyone else who you would like to have speak on the day, and that takes usually 15 minutes of the day. So we just want to hear about how you would do that if you were awarded this grant. And just tell us where the event will take place. Is it going to take place at the business, in your cafeteria, outside? We just want to know some logistics on the day and your willingness to help us with this outreach plan. Like I said, Mass CEC will help you, but just your willingness to help spread the awareness of the day. And I will say that this has worked out, been very amazing in the past as the press usually comes, they take some pictures of you and your students doing the activity, and it does gain a lot of traction. So the more that we can prepare for this, the greater on the back end that it will happen, that you will see your event publicized. So just talking a little bit about the total funding that we have is $100,000 for the day, which means that we want to award 10 schools, depending on how you would like to do it. It could be $8,000 for per school if you do it Monday through Friday. If you decide to be ambitious and want to invite parents on a Saturday, then we do award $10,000 for this program, and you decide how you want to spend that $8,000. Most of it usually is equipment, or some, again, talking about the program coordinators who gets paid, but most of the day does get eaten up by the equipment that you will purchase for your students, depending on how many students that you would like to participate in the day, as well as you're able to provide snack expenses for them, or lunch, because this is a fantastic day, or if needed, if the employer says I'm not coming because I want to be paid, compensated, you are allowed to do stipends for business speakers. as well as if you are bringing students to another location, you can, allow to pay for the field trip expenses, so the business, the buses and the operational costs. I did put clean energy bags in here, but Mass CEC sends the bag, so you don't have to put that in your budget as you're thinking about your day. And this is simple. Who's eligible? Private and public elementary and middle schools that have kindergarten through 8th grade are eligible to apply for the RFP. So that means that if you are, a kindergarten through 8th grade facility, we would love to have you apply for this RFP. And just some upcoming dates. We released the RFP a few weeks ago in November. We're here today having the webinar. We are asking if you have any questions that were not answered in the webinar, and if you have other questions, we are here. You will see my email on this slide as well as the slide at the end. And then from the questions that we receive, we'll post it on our website. And this program, it used to have a due date. This is new. We're just making this rolling because we want you to tell us when is it a good time for your students to participate in this. So usually, schools do it sometime in the spring. So, you got to think of, if you are applying to this, it's great to get your application in for January. We have a 30-day turnaround time. Usually it's a little bit shorter. So from the time that we call you to say you've been awarded, we work with you. And it usually takes a couple of months for the day to get planned, your speakers in place, pick the day in the spring. And if you do want to do activities outside, it's better to do April, May, or June. We did have a school that did this in October, and it was a rather warm day. That day we were in Holyoke, we were right on the dam, so it was a warm day. So if you do choose to do something in September or October, planning in advance, that's great too. This is a first come, first serve RFP. So even though it does say applicants are notified, 45 days after submission, that's long term. Usually we can turn it around within 30 days. So you just want to plan accordingly of when you want to do your day. And we do ask that 2 electronic copies come in, one in PDF form and one in Word. And you can just send that to me in an email, with the subject line, the 2018, Clean Energy Activity Day RFP application. And this is my contact information, or myself or Josh. This is, how you can get in contact with us. We are pretty responsive on email. And so we would love to hear from you if you have any questions or anything that wasn't answered today on the webinar. We are here to answer your questions. I mean, in general, this is really something that you plan for the day. We are here to guide you and help you, and we will give you tips. But you know your students, you know your community, you know your school. So this is something that really is something that you do. It's not so much that we're going to monitor, until you have your day. We will assist you, but on the most part, because you know who your community is. So if you just give me a second, I'm going to look up at the questions. I'm just going to scroll up and read them. And now would be a time if you would like to submit a question. I'm just going to read. Give me one second. My first question is, yes, you will have access to the PowerPoint and when the webinar is finished. If you give us until, I think, Monday, everything will be up by, I think the date was the 17th. You'll have everything up as soon as possible. I don't want to say it would be up today. I'm not sure how our communications team is going to put it up, but everything will be up. The PowerPoint, the webinar, everything will be up so that you will have this as a reference. Does a visiting business or organization I'm sorry, I just want to read it first. Yes. So the question is, does visiting a business organization and having folks there present their engaging stories about how they got into this line of work to do? You could do that at an offsite location because we've done that before. But you want to make sure that the hands-on activity is also there. So it might be a lot. I'm not sure what you were thinking, but I would just say that if you're going to bring students to an offsite location at a business, have them do the activity there because it'll be a kickoff. It's like a kickoff. So you're inviting your legislators there, and our CEO comes and speaks to the students. So if you're going to transport students, you just want to keep them there for the 3 or 4 hours that they're there. You don't want to move them around too much because they do have to do an activity. And so hopefully I've answered that question. If I have not, please send the question again. The question is, when does the cycle of funding end if you want to apply for spring of 2020? Should that be part of this cycle? So if you want to apply that's about a year from now, I would say do not apply for this cycle. It is a rolling application. We are on, our fiscal year usually starts in July 1 to the following June 30th. So if you're not looking to do this, before, I would say, December of 2019, then I would wait to apply for this RFP. I would wait to apply sometime after July. We could award you early, but you wouldn't want to start it. You probably would need to start a year out. So I would say if you're looking at spring 2020, to wait until after July 1. Does the whole school have to participate or just can a couple of grades? Nope. As long as, I think the requirement was for 100 students in the RFP to participate. Usually, the average is, the lowest we probably had was 125 students, and they mixed in grades. It might have been grades 7th and 8th. So no, it's not the whole school. We've had schools do the whole school before, and that works out great. They send them in different shifts. It just happens all throughout the day. But no, you can decide if you just want a couple of grades to do this. I know schools in the past have said, well, the 5th and 6th graders are going to do it because now they're studying clean energy, and this will prepare them for, 7th and 8th grade. So that is totally up to you. You still need to get guest speakers if you go on a field trip. So there's two different things that you'll see in the RFP that we allowed for. So part of your day has to have guest speakers. We also, as you'll see in the RFP, if you would like to do a field trip outside of your day as a separate, that is allowed. So say if you say, I'm going to go to Mass Maritime Academy, I'm going to have my day, held there. But then I also want to do a field trip, not part of the $8,000. I also want to do a separate field trip to, say, the Museum of Science. That is in the RFP where you can do that as well. So that's like a bonus. Some schools do that, some schools don't. Some schools just say, Mass CEC, it's hard enough to do the whole day, so we want to keep the students there that, we'll have businesses come and speak, and then we'll do the activity. And some schools are like, we want to do the day, but we also want to bring our students to the Museum of Science. So that is something that we have allowed as well, and you can find more information in the RFP as well. Next question. So the question is, I work at a high school and I'm planning on including high school students to teach and help the middle school students, which I think is awesome. That has been done in the past. And the schools are in the same district but not in the same building. Is that okay? Yes. We encourage you to bring the high school students in to help the middle school students. You are going to need help with your day. There is no question about that. You are going to need students' help to put the equipment together. So I encourage you to invite high school students to help you. That's a bonus. Excuse me. If a school in our district has already been awarded a clean energy activity grant, would another school in the same district be eligible to apply? Of course, yes. You can apply. A district can apply as many times as they want. So we look forward to seeing that application from that school district. Will a rep from Mass CEC join us for the day? Yes. I can say at least one person will be there. Usually we travel with 5 or 6 of us that will come and help you with the day, help the students put models together. Our CEO is very fond of doing this, so you'll even see him there throughout the day and helping the students, whether they are stumped on something or they have questions. Yes, Mass DEC will be at your day. If your entire school is less than 100 students, that's tricky because we do require 100 students. But I will say that if you can make a case why if it's a specialized school and it's less than 100, we would not turn you away. So I would just say, just apply and we will go from there. But that we would like to see 100 students. But if it's not there, just give a short explanation. We will not turn you away. What are some places that we can look to find some interesting 3D kits, such as those we see in your photos? Those were taken from Amazon. So you can just look on Amazon. You can look up Connects. You can look up clean energy kits. I would say look at the Kid Wind if you're interested in like offshore wind or wind turbines. Look at the curriculum for Kid Wind out of UMass Lowell. You can just Google Kid Wind and you'll find some great kits on there. But those pictures are from Amazon, and so feel free to use Amazon. Or I know that also the Museum of Science has curriculum that you can purchase with some hands-on activities. So I would encourage you to look at that website as well. Excuse me. But if you have any other questions, if you're really having a hard time, feel free to email me to to get some suggestions on that. But on the most part, Amazon has the models that you would be looking at, and if you would like to suggest any others, then that is great as well. But where do we access the application? If you go on massdec.com, or you will see we have something called active solicitations. You will find it there, and you click on it, and it will bring the application up. If you're having trouble finding it, again, feel free. If you got the notice in an email, if it went to your email, there is a link in that email when we announced the RFP for the application. But if you just go to massdec.com and you click on one of the buckets where it says active solicitations, you'll be able to bring up the RFP. So that seems like that was the last question. I will keep it open for a few more minutes if you have more questions. As I said, I have our contact information on the last slide, so feel free to email us. Again, this is a rolling application. It's first come, first serve. Our goal is to do 10 schools this year. We did 8 schools last year, 7 schools the previous year before. Our goal this year is to do 10 schools. And so we look forward to, I know that there is, there was 30 people signed up today, and we look forward to having all those applications come in so that we can look at them and be helpful. Again, keep in mind that you probably don't want to request a clean energy activity day in January or February when you might have snow days, or you'll not be allowed to take the students outside. So just some things to think about. And someone said, I'm a first-time grant writer. Are there any tricks of the trade that might help with the review process? Honestly, when you look in the RFP, if you just follow those questions that are in there, so this is probably one of our easiest RFPs, to be honest, because it's just you telling me, us, how you would like your day to be. This is not meant to be. We realize that teachers are incredible individuals who have the most busiest schedules. We realize you have to teach a different, testing standards. So we want this really to be an easy lift for you. We just need you to explain, how's your day going to look? And then, who would you invite in as guest speakers? What's the type of equipment? And that's why we say that there's a 5-page limit on this. Some people have sent in less than 5 pages on this type of grant process. So this is one of our easy lift applications. So I don't have any tricks of the trade. I would just say try to answer the questions as best you can and to think about who you would like to invite to your day and the equipment. and I think you will have a really successful day, because it is a little bit of work to plan your day, because, logistics and who's coming and how, what day are you going to do it on, and, what classes are the students going to miss, and you have to work with the teachers, and you have to work with your principal. So that's more of the lift that we know that you will, incur. So on the application, I don't necessarily want a heavy lift on the application. If you just answer the questions, I think we'll be able to understand about your day. So with that, thank you all for joining me today. Again, I'm leaving up my email. This webinar will be put on our website. You will have access to the PowerPoint presentation. You have my email. So I look forward to your application. I look forward to hearing about how we can bring this to your school, and I look forward to meeting you. So if there's no more further questions, I'm going to turn off this webinar. Thank you all for joining me so much, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much. Have a good day.